Hey guys, happy Friday.
Hi.
No ma'am, we don't do that. Do you want to come say hi?
Yeah, popsicle too.
That's fine, careful. We are hanging out
Hi.
outside. So actually we're in the garage, but we're basically outside. So I wanted to come on and just share you guys. Hey, stay where I can see you, okay?
Okay.
I wanted to...
I can't go down there with my bike.
No, not right now. I wanted to come on and share with you guys just some different curriculum that has been working for us, some that hasn't worked for us. So if y'all don't know me, or you don't know my homeschooling journey at least, we are finishing up year 2 of homeschooling. We did preschool, we are just finishing up kindergarten. So we're going to be starting first grade. We do year-round homeschooling, so we do not start in August, end in May. We actually start in May, end in May. So we are coming up on our last month. We might actually be stretching it to June this year. Not 100%, but I think that is what the plan is. Maybe stretching it to June. So we are going to be starting our first grade journey, which I'm pretty excited about. So we started homeschooling not for religious reasons, not because we hated the public school system. I don't think either of those reasons are wrong. I'm just saying it's not our reason. We actually just started homeschooling for the freedom. So if you are a homeschooler, drop me a 1 in the comments. I always like to see who watches this that's actually homeschooling. If you're a homeschooler before the coronavirus, because I realize everyone pretty much now is. If you aren't, but you're thinking about becoming like a permanent homeschooler, drop me a 2 in the comments. I am literally just going to take you through how I pick out my curriculum. And like I said, I didn't choose homeschooling for religious reasons or because we hated the public school system. I chose it for 2 reasons. The one was the freedom. I already worked from home. I found a way to make a full-time income off of social media. I liked not having to be on someone else's timetable. I liked not having to be tied down to someone else's schedule. So when it came to schooling, I kind of wanted the same thing. I didn't want someone telling me when we could take breaks and when we had to do school. And, I just thought that I really liked the freedom aspect of it. The second reason, however, is I did go to college to be a teacher. I love teaching. I've taught in the public school classroom. I've taught in the Christian school classroom. I've taught volunteer, lots of different places. I now teach online to adults. So I love teaching. However, I do know it's much harder to teach in a way where the student actually understands when you have 30 plus students in your classroom. So for me, I really wanted to be able to just tailor the education to Glory and kind of see, okay, what are her strengths, what are her weaknesses, and then play to those instead of it being like a broad spectrum of everyone does this, everyone does this, everyone does this. And you'll see that with some of the curriculum I'm going to go through. So, Wanda's a homeschooler. Okay, got several of you guys at homeschool. I think that's awesome. Hi, Alexandra. So, I'm just going to go through subject by subject. I'm going to tell you what we liked about what we picked and what we didn't like. One of the subjects is going completely in the garbage. We are not doing the same curriculum next year. And then a couple of them we're keeping. So the first one I'll pull out is our reading. What we did is we went to timberdoodle.com. You can't do that right there. We went to timberdoodle.com. And I will link all of this down. So I'm just going to write this down so I remember. Timberdoodle.com, basically what they do is they take pools from different companies, different curriculum companies, and put it together in a grade level. So we chose the kindergarten elite program, which basically meant you're getting educational wise the best of the best from reading and science and math and history. So they pull it all together and then you order it as a set. I really like the way they did it. With Hooked on Phonics, we actually did this on our own. We chose not to go with their recommendation for reading because this is how I learned how to read. I loved it. I had cousins that learned how to read with Hooked on Phonics. And I do like the fact that it's not cassettes anymore. I wasn't going to do that. But I do love the Hooked on Phonics. So what I do at the end of every year is I write down the subject. I write down what brand we went with or what company. I write down some pros. I write down some cons. And I write down what would I change about next year's curriculum if I could change something, which we can. We're all in control of what we order for our children. So Hooked on Phonics, one thing I love about it is it definitely builds baby steps. So we're in the purple book. she started a little slower on the phonics side, which is fine. We started kindergarten when she was 4.5. So she is just now 5.5. We'll be starting first grade in about a month. So reading wise, it hasn't clicked until about this week. So we've been going slow. And again, that's the beauty of homeschooling. You don't have to rush through it. So I love that it builds definitely one upon each other. The only con I can think of with Hooked on Phonics is it's a bit pricey. It's definitely one of the higher end curriculums. Therefore, it does have a higher end price tag. But what we did is we actually ordered 3 years at once. So we ordered kindergarten all the way through the end of second grade. Third grade, depending on how fast your child learns to read. It really is not a grade level. It's 8 different steps. So we bought it all at once. We got a little bit of a discount for doing that. But then you also think, first and second grade, we don't have a reading curriculum to buy. So it seems cheaper the next couple of years, if that makes sense. Like, I won't be buying a reading curriculum because I already have it at my house. So we really do love the Hooked on Phonics. I have an entire video that goes through exactly how Hooked on Phonics works. If you want it, just get in my inbox. Just comment Hooked on Phonics. I'll send you the video. It is something that I would recommend to every single family. There's an app that comes with it. I will say Hooked on Phonics is not one of those reading programs. You can sit your kid in front of a computer and it does all the work for them. Like, it's a hands-on where the parent and the kid do the work together. I've had a couple moms, my kid doesn't like it. It's a little bit too, it's boring for them. It's going to be boring if you're expecting them to teach themselves. It's not boring if you sit down and you actually lesson plan and do it with your kid. So that also goes into play of what style of homeschooling are you doing with your family, because you're going to need different things. Second subject I want to talk about is math. So this, we did order through Timberdoodle. It is called Math UC. And guys, I'm hooked on this. We are absolutely doing this next year. One thing I love about this is it's very hands-on. It comes with math manipulatives that reinforce all the different lessons. So you've got basically blocks, which my kid, let me tell you, especially the first 6 months, I guess, that we had these, I bribed her. If she did her math lesson really well, she got 10 minutes to play with the blocks. Just play with them. She just built stuff. So for example, if the problem is Johnny needs 10 apples. Right now he has 3, 6. He has 8. How many more does he need? 2. Yeah, she just said it. It's super simple. So it just really teaches them to do the problems without just the typical using your fingers, which I'm not against that. She does that too for certain things. But it teaches them to really see the math done. It's called Math UC, right? So that was kind of a dumb thing I just said. But it does work really well. The pros to this is it is very, very hands-on. The cons is, again, it's a little bit pricey because you are buying this is just a little bit of them. You're buying an entire box of manipulatives. But again, you buy them one time and you use them every year, as long as your kid doesn't lose them. So again, we are very careful with our stuff. I'm not buying the set of blocks again. The other con to this is I felt like it was a little bit too much review in the beginning, stuff that we had already went over in preschool. However, like I said, reading, it took her a little while to click. Math, she's flying through. So again, that's where I talk about I love homeschooling. You can tailor. You can tailor to your kid. So I felt like it was review, but a part of that was just because she catches on to math concepts really quick. When you go online to order Timberdoodle, if you want to order the math, you can actually have your child take a test and they can place them in whatever math is right for them. Now for us, again, we just finished preschool. I knew she wasn't ready for first grade math, so we didn't take the test. There was no point. You've got to stop, honey. You're bouncing. Okay, last warning. You need to go inside with your dad for a little bit if you can't stop. Guys, work from home life. I apologize, but I don't. This is why we homeschool. So anyways, you can take the test. If you're pulling your kid out of school and then putting them in this math, I highly suggest go ahead and taking the test. And again, I'm going to drop the link below, the timberdoodle.com. All you gotta do is go to the math section and you can take the test. So the next subject I want to go over is Bible. For us, now I'm going to explain this before I get into this because I think I'm going to get some haters, and that's okay. We are very much of the opinion that school is not the place your child learns Bible. That's what they learn at home. So just because we're homeschooling, like we decided not to do a Bible curriculum because we already did daily devotions. We made sure she went to Bible club every week. We go to church 3 times a week. So we're very good on the religion side of school. Having said that, I did order, when we first started preschool, I ordered this 1-year daily devotional. It is very, very simple. I would say, depending on how young your kids are when you start devotions with them, like Glory was 2 when we first started doing devotions. So our devotions were 5 minutes max, like they weren't very long. Now they're about 30 minutes a day. So you work up to it, but we've been doing them for several years. So literally, like one of the devotions was this. And all we did was we read the verse, and it talks about how we're supposed to tell people about Jesus. Then we read the little picture, and it says you can tell your friends about Jesus when you play. And then her little activity was just to circle the 5 things that were different in the picture. So it's a very, very basic, you're basically learning Bible characteristics, I think would be the best thing. But she outgrew that probably middle kindergarten, so we have not used this in a while. But I will say it's a very good starter if you are your kid's on the younger side, or maybe you've never done daily devotions. So maybe your kid is kindergarten or first or second grade, but they're not going to sit down and do 30 minutes of like Bible memory and Bible reading with you, which is fine. Like we all work up to that. This is definitely a good start. And so this is called, the brand here is Word of Life Ministries. Oh, I don't know if we can see that. There we go. Word of Life Local Church Ministries, if you want to look that up. And then we also did Awana's for the first half of kindergarten, and then we did Master's Club for the second half of kindergarten. So what we did with these is whatever the lesson was on Wednesday, I took and I made that into a week-long, like every day we touched about something that they talked about on Wednesday night. So, for example, this month, we're going through the church and like what the church means to you. So this whole month, during our devotions, we're just talking little bits and pieces about the church, which is interesting for us because we just left a church that we'd been at for 6 years, the only church she'd ever known. We're at a brand new church. So it's actually nice because she's getting to learn stuff about the church and learn little facts about the school, and like it's a new place to her. So it's probably something that we should have done regardless if we were going through Master's Club. So it was a good fit. Like God definitely put that along there. So the pro to that is just the fact that we were already doing it. So it was just something that was easy to kind of put in there and make sure that we got a little bit extra Bible every day. The con is it's not actually a curriculum. So like I said, we definitely were not one of those people that we joined and every subject was going to be, okay, 2 + 2 is 4, and it never changes because Jesus never changes. Okay, I'm not against you teaching your kid like that. That is not what we wanted in homeschool. We didn't want a giant Bible class with a little bit of like reading, writing, and arithmetic spread throughout. We did want very high education, and then we, as the parents, not as the homeschool teachers, are giving her a very good, strong, solid foundation when it comes to a relationship with Jesus. That's what we wanted to hit on first. Besides, she gets the stories in Sunday school, in junior church, in Bible club. We wanted to hit hard on, okay, I want to teach you how to have a relationship, because knowing all this stuff about the Bible doesn't really matter if you don't have a relationship with God. And now we're at the point where we feel like she does. Like, we daily talk to him, and she does gratitude journaling and devotions and that kind of stuff. So I think for first grade, I am going to be looking for a Bible curriculum. I have no idea what I even want to look at yet. So guys, if you're watching this and you have a really good Bible curriculum, please drop me down a comment, because I'm going to be doing so much research over the next month. And I say that like actually in an excited way because I'm such a nerd. I love researching this stuff. So I'm excited to just go through and look at a bunch of different Bible curriculums. The next one I'm going to go through is grammar/English. We did two parts for this. We did a doodling book and we did a handwriting book. So the handwriting book is this right here. Again, this came through Timber Doodle, and the brand is called A Reason For. So if you go online and you type A Reason For curriculum, they have handwriting, they have science, they actually have several different things. The pro to this is very simple. Every day, all she does is one letter, and she writes it out, and then she goes to the back, and she has a coloring page and then a word that starts with that letter. So it is very simple. It was definitely something that we did towards the end of the school day when your brain's kind of like, okay, time to shut down. Math and phonics were first every single day. Phonics, math, phonics, math. The downside to this is, I felt like it was all review, because in preschool, we learned how to write all of our letters, even though we did not even know the sounds yet. So I think we kind of did that backwards. That's okay. So something I really want to look for going into first grade is learning how to write cursive. I know some of y'all don't teach cursive anymore. I do. BJ, you press Bible all day. I've heard of that Bob Jones has a lot of really good curriculum. I'll look into them. So same thing, if you have a good curriculum that you like for cursive, feel free to drop me down below. And then the doodling book was the second part of that. This, again, came through Timber Doodle. I almost didn't order this. What it is, it's just rhyming words, and then the kids draw it. So they write the word, like this is bee, tree. You write bee, you write tree. And then on this side, it says, draw a tree under a bee. Just kidding. Yeah, flying free. I can't read backwards. So she drew. So the pro to this is she absolutely loved it. Like, she asks to do this every single day. She would do the whole book in one sitting if I would let her. We don't do that like we do actual school time and curriculum. We have a schedule that we set up for school. But she loved it. The con, I kind of thought it was dumb. I didn't really see the point in it. But we will absolutely be trying to find something similar to this next year. I looked up, this is not a curriculum. This is a book by a person. I think there's one or two other ones that he wrote. So I'm going to look those up and see if they're kind of the same thing. Because again, she asked for it. So at some point, when I look at, if I'm going to get curriculum again or not the next year, part of that factors in is how did my child like it? Like if she loves something and it wasn't harming her, I'm probably going to buy it again. Science. Science, again, came from Timber Doodle. This was the Exploring the Building Blocks of Science. I'm going to say this is the one that we're throwing in the garbage. Did not like this at all. It's basically, so a pro is it was very easy. It's very, very simple, but it's basically a giant coloring book. Like every page is coloring with like a couple things you talk about. I chose to. I wouldn't have to do this. I got to do a lot of creative outside thinking on how to kind of make this come off the page. Like, for example, we are somewhere in here, we talk about volcanoes. And there's nothing suggested to do with the volcanoes. You just talk about them, color a bunch of pictures. We're going to build a volcano. We're going to do some experiments. We haven't got to it yet. She's like, what? So we definitely brought it off to life. Like in physics, they goes through 4 basics of like science. We started in chemistry, we went to biology, then we went to physics, and then we'll be ending up in astrology. I believe so. No, not astrology. Astronomy, because I'm not teaching my kid astrology.
Yes, you are.
I think that's the right word for it. I think it's astronomy. Yeah, not teaching my kid about her signs and all that made up stuff. So, hold on. So, it was not something that we loved. I just felt like it was a giant coloring book, to be honest. And I had to do a lot of work to make it come off the page. So, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. Again, if you have a good science book, a good science curriculum, drop me in the comments. I will go look at all these different curriculums you guys are using. I know I want something hands-on. I want something that has activities and projects. Now, I will say, along with the science, we did buy a giant science experiment kit. It's called Boom 50, I think is what it was called, again, through Timber Doodle. and it had enough stuff in it to do 60 plus experiments. So we do a couple experiments a week. We do love that. So I know I want hands-on. She loves the experiments. I think all kids do. I don't know. If your kids love science experiments, drop me a 3 in the comments. I'm curious if anybody's kids doesn't like doing science experiments. Like, we made slime yesterday. What kid doesn't like to do that? So I know we want hands-on. I don't know exactly what else. I'm doing a lot of research around science. History. Okay. So we did 2 histories. We did a history and a geography. The history we did, it's from Veritas Press, and it was called Bede's History of Me. Again, came from Timberdoodle. They suggested it. And what this did is it just took her through a history of things that actually affected her. So we talked, and of course we touched on holidays in here too, but the normal stuff, we talked about, for example, who your parents are, when you were born, where you were born. We did timelines. And it has suggestions of different things to do outside of the book, which I really like. That got my creative juices flowing. We talked about the history of the family, her family. So we made if you haven't seen it, it's on my Facebook. We made a giant family tree. It's hanging in our kitchen. We talked about the history of my neighborhood and the post office and just really, really cool stuff. And then went into memorizing your address and that kind of stuff. So I thought it was a really awesome beginning, intro into history for a 5-year-old. The pro to this was it was very in-depth, very interactive. The only con, I would say, is it is a lot of book work. They give you ideas to do outside the box. But if you are not a parent that is very hands-on and going to take the initiative to go get all the supplies and do these big projects, this probably is not the best one for you. You probably want to find something that comes with all the supplies for you. But I would buy this again in a heartbeat. Yeah, it was a whopping $16. It was really cool. And I just looked online. They actually have Bede's U.S. history and Bede's just a whole bunch of different histories. So we may be looking into this again for next year for getting into the first grade. We will see. I'm going to do a little research on that because I know what I don't want for history is just a giant reading book. I know I want hands-on with some in-depth lessons where we can take off the page. And then the geography was this Evan Moore is the brand. Again, if you go to Google Evan Moore curriculum, they have science and reading and everything. So I will say the pro to this is my daughter loved it. Again, she asked to do this book, which is a huge win in my book. And it had a lot of really cool activities. We made a boat yesterday, actually, because we're talking about oceans and rivers and bodies of water. We have made maps of all the different continents. What you doing, babe?
By the way, so I was putting the green on the heads. Is there any tell that's something I can use?
Just wait until I'm done, okay? We got a globe that we played with. We did a north, south, west, and east scavenger hunt when we were learning directions. So we absolutely love this. The con to this is I felt like it was a little bit simple, but I learned this week that it is a little simple because this is the skill sharpener. So when you go to Evan Moore's website, they have the daily science, daily history, daily whatever, and then they have skill sharpener science, skill sharpener history. Basically, the daily stuff is the curriculum. The skill sharpener just reaffirms what you are learning in school. So because she was in kindergarten, they do start off kind of light, I guess. So I found out there's actually 2 different things. So I'll be looking into that for geography for next year because it was something that we really did enjoy. But yeah, I'll definitely be doing them again. And I might even look at them for science because they have a good science program as well. And the last one I want to talk about is our Spanish. So she asked me if I could teach her Spanish when we first looked into starting kindergarten. Everything's backwards. I believe it. She asked me kindergarten, start learning Spanish. I don't know Spanish. I grew up in New Mexico. I know enough, but I haven't taken it for a long time. But I do think it's a good language to learn. Why not? And if she can learn it young, it makes it that much easier. So I did not go buy like a full-fledged curriculum for this. I just got this book off of Amazon. It's called Starter Spanish, the complete book of Starter Spanish for grades pre-K through first. A pro to this is it does get the job done. It starts with going through all the colors. Then you go through the shapes, which is where we're at now. And then you start going through the letters. And then you start going through numbers and then some basic objects. So you're just learning words. You're not stringing them together yet. But she's catching on pretty quickly. And then we also, off Amazon, just bought some flashcards. So we do a couple pages in here, which is usually coloring and tracing and that kind of stuff. And then we go through the flashcards of all the words we've learned up until that point. And that's how we kind of review every day. So like I said, the pro is it definitely got the job done. The con is it's not a curriculum. So I definitely want something that strings everything together more. However, we still have probably another 6 months, maybe even another whole year in that book. So until she learns the basics, I'm not in a rush to like go buy another curriculum. But yeah, so I hope this helped. Like I said, I've been doing this for a couple years now. I've taught for over 10 years in some capacity. What I didn't do before this was teach anybody under the age of 7th grade. So this was definitely a new world to me. I'd never taught anyone how to read before because all my students knew how to read by 7th grade. But it was a lot of fun and I love it. Like it's definitely something that if you're in the position to where you have the money and you have the time to homeschool, I think it's something that can definitely benefit your child and benefit you. Like you're teaching them, but they're also teaching you. It's surprising just what you learn from being a full-time stay-at-home parent, like hands-on with your kid 24/7. Patience being one of them. But anyways, so I hope that helps. I'm going to get off here. I have a Zoom to get on. I don't know what time it is. It's 7 o'clock, so probably soon. So bye, guys. I hope that helped. Have a good night.